Hi there. So, I offered to share some of my knowledge about sleep. I just want to deal with the elephant in the room. I've sent you a link to my website. If you're watching this video, you can explore if you want to, but just ignore all of that for the time being. The knowledge that I want to share that I picked up, which I think is extremely valuable for any high performer, is all in this video. There's nothing behind a paywall at the end of this. I'm not leading you into some sort of magical sleep coaching program. I'm not a coach at all. I'm actually a therapist, if anything. I don't like the C word. I'm not a coach. There's nothing that I can teach you that you don't already know. Um, this is going to be some information that maybe you've not heard, but you know it, you feel it on a deep level. So I'm just going to jump straight in, tell you a little bit about my backstory and how I got here. I have been dealing with sleep issues since I was a teenager, and they were really highlighted to me around about the time of the COVID lockdown. And the reason they were highlighted to me was I got a little bit enthusiastic about consuming alcohol, like a lot of us did. So I realized that I had like a bit of an issue with it. So I decided to remove that from my life. And then I noticed that my sleep was even worse. I couldn't get to sleep and I couldn't stay asleep. So naturally, I decided I was going to educate myself on the topic of sleep. And I started to read a book by Matt Walker called Why We Sleep and Dream. It's a really, really good, comprehensive book about sleep science. And I don't recommend that you read it just yet because it will keep you up at night. It's the worst bedtime reading imaginable. You know, if you're reading a book about the health implications of not being well slept before you go to sleep, good luck getting to sleep after reading that. So leave that one to the side. Another thing I would recommend against is gadgets and gimmicks. Things like blue light blocking glasses. I've got a pair of them. I paid £100 for them. They did absolutely nothing for getting to sleep. They certainly didn't improve my sleep quality. I've tried lots of things which have kind of improved sleep, little bits, but the best piece of advice, the best wisdom I've ever come across came from Dr. John Butler, who is one of my mentors and my trainers in the therapy that I'm involved with. And he said this, and it really made a lot of sense, and hopefully it makes sense to you too. So, Dr. John says that sleep is not a place, therefore, we can't go to sleep. And sleep is not a thing, therefore, we can't get any of it. It's not a place and it's not a thing. So, we can't go to it and we can't get it. So, what is it? Well, sleep is something that happens. So, how do we make it happen? Well, you get out of your own way. The moment you get out of your own way, sleep will occur. So, sleep isn't a doing thing and it's not a place that you can go to. Of course, you can go to bed, but if you lie there overthinking, sleep will not arrive. So, the problem that we have with sleep as high performers is it's generally an overthinking situation. And you know this on a deep level. You lie down, you want to go to sleep, yet you can't turn the mind off. The mind becomes a circus, and you're constantly ruminating over different things that you need to do and different meetings you need to have. Whatever your circus is individual to you, but it's definitely a circus. So, to make sleep occur, what we need to do is relax the mind and the body. And the way that we do this is different from person to person. And I'm going to give you some practical tips on how to do that in a moment. But once you relax the mind and get out of your own way, sleep will occur. Now, waking up in the middle of the night is quite common for people in my age category. Usually we wake up around about 3 a.m. I'm not sure if you experience the same thing, but around about 3 a.m. we wake up. And then if you're lucky, you can get back to sleep. But if you have sleep issues, and you don't get to sleep until 2 a.m. and then you wake up again at 3 a.m., quite often we can get out of bed, dragging ourselves out of bed in the morning, trying to face the day with nowhere near enough sleep. And everything else as a result suffers. Our mental and physical health suffers. Our performance in our job and our mission suffers. So I want to try and help you overcome that as quickly as possible. So remember, the first thing to remember is sleep is not a place and it's not a thing. You can't go to it. You can't get it. You've just got to get out of your own way and it will happen naturally. But that's easier said than done. So on the subject of keeping you up at night, I'm just going to explain what's at stake and why this is important. So, your mind is well, not your mind, but So let's go through some information that potentially can keep you up at night, but we need to know what's at stake here so that we can take the advice seriously and really start to take sleep seriously. So we need to talk about sleep cycles and brainwave states. This is an area that I've studied and an area that I'm, quite proficient in. But like I said, I'm not a coach. I'm not here to teach you anything, except right now. This is me teaching, I guess. You go through different sleep cycles throughout the night. You go through what you call light sleep, REM sleep, and deep sleep. REM sleep is REM, rapid eye movement. Deep sleep is restorative sleep, and light sleep is what a lot of poor sleepers encounter most of the time. The way that it works is you normally find that your deep sleep occurs in the first third of your sleep total, if you will. And in the last third is when you get the REM sleep. So if you're underslept, generally you'll get some deep sleep. And if you're really tired, you'll get a lot of deep sleep. And the deep sleep stage is where your body repairs itself, which is great. It's what we need. But the REM sleep is where the mind repairs itself. And you could say that it's more important than the deep sleep stage. And as a person who is struggling with sleep, we're missing out on REM sleep. So what does that mean? Well, REM sleep is when your mind processes the information from the previous day. And if it's not able to do that, then you're not getting a vital software upgrade for your brain on a nightly basis. And what it leads to is a loss of mental agility. If you're a high performing person, your mind is your tool and you need to keep it sharp. So getting REM sleep is important, but you're only going to get the REM sleep in the last third of your sleep cycle. So if you're only getting 3 hours, you're getting nowhere near enough REM sleep. If you're only getting 5 hours, you're not getting enough REM sleep. If you're getting between 6 and 7 hours, you're getting some REM sleep. 7 and 8 hours is where you're getting the most amount of REM sleep. So REM sleep is critical for your faculties. Second thing is if you don't get enough REM sleep, you have a shorter emotional fuse. So that means that you're easily irritated. And I don't mean by other people, I mean by everything. So people can irritate you, situations can irritate you. When a situation irritates you, you feel stress. Stress leads to an increase in cortisol. I can talk forever about different hormones, but keeping it simple, stress leads to sickness, and lack of REM sleep leads to stress. So it's a very, very important part of the sleep cycle. And the third thing is concentration gaps and brain fog. When you find it struggle to when you find it a struggle to focus, and when you have gaps in your memory, difficulty recalling information, you're not performing at your highest level. So REM sleep is critical to be a high functioning individual, and you know this on a deep level because you experience uh, brain fog, gaps in your memory, difficult recalling situations. You've probably been irritated by somebody in the last few weeks. We're all very irritable when we haven't had enough sleep. Now, that is what's at stake. What we deal with as bad sleepers are issues with sleep debt. And sleep debt is a myth. I've got one of these things. It's called a Whoop. It's a heart rate monitor, and it tells me a lot about my sleep. And it tells me what my sleep debt is. And if my sleep debt over the course of a week is 3 or 4 hours, it seems, according to the Whoop software, that if I just have a nap in the afternoon, that resets my sleep debt. But that's factually inaccurate because to deal with sleep debt, the APR on sleep debt is through the roof. Let me explain it this way. For every hour, for every single hour that you don't sleep, to make back the debt on a physiological basis is going to take 4 nights of perfect sleep. And as a person who doesn't get perfect sleep, you're in a debt cycle that is spinning out of control. So think about that logically. If you're the type of person who gets 5 hours sleep or 6 hours sleep, and over the course of a week, you're 2 hours below what you need, which is very common for a high performer, and essentially over the course of a month, to pay back the physiological debt on that lack of sleep, it's going to take you about 3 months. It's about 500% APR. So if it was a loan at 500% APR, that would be considered predatory lending. You're not dealing with a loan shark here who's going to come and break your legs. You're dealing with a debt that's going to result in immediate problems and long-term problems that can lead to stroke, heart attack, dementia. The book that I mentioned talks about amyloid plaque being flushed out of the brain at particular sleep cycles. You're not achieving these sleep cycles. So getting on top of your sleep is crucial. And now I've given you all of this scary information, I want to give you some advice on how to deal with that. So we mentioned that sleep occurs when you get out of your own way. So it's all about relaxation. Okay, so how do we relax at bedtime when we're so anxious about it? The most important, I wouldn't say protocol, but the most important thing that you can do is learn to bring your nervous system from a fight or flight stage to a rest and digest stage. And the way that we do that is through breathing. Okay. There's a really simple breathing technique that if you do this in bed, it would allow the mind to calm down. And then the mind can start focusing on tasks that are in hand and it can start to become a little bit more abstract in the way that it thinks. I'll come back to that in a moment. That's an important point. But if you breathe in for 7 seconds and breathe out for 11 seconds, you will calm the nervous system down. And I'm going to explain how that works. So you have a system within your body called the baroflex system. You have baroreceptors, which are very special cells that live inside your arteries. And these baroreceptors detect changes in blood pressure and gas levels, i.e., oxygen and carbon dioxide. Now, when you breathe in, your heart rate, the amount of times that your heart beats per minute, increases slightly. And when you breathe out, your heart rate decreases slightly. And the increase and decrease in the amount of beats per minute causes the gaps between the heartbeats to vary in length by milliseconds. And measuring that gives us a metric called heart rate variability. So this Whoop thing that I've talked about measures my heart rate variability, and it tells me how my nervous system and recovery is doing. So it's a very sophisticated bit of kit, but it doesn't tell us the whole truth. It's kind of a ballpark figure. So I know if my HRV, my heart rate variability, is high, then my autonomic nervous system is in a state of rest and digest. And when my HRV is high, I feel it in my body, I feel it in my mind, everything is clearer. So if you want to increase your HRV, you can do it with this breathing technique that I've taught you. In for 7 seconds and out for 11, because when you breathe in, your heart rate speeds up. And when you breathe out, your heart rate slows down. Two things happen. You're changing the length of the beats, but you're also telling your brain by breathing out for longer and in decreasing your heart rate, you are bringing your heart rate down because the out breath is longer than the in breath. The out breath is longer than the in breath, meaning that you're spending more time slowing your heart down than you are speeding it up. Like if you think of a gas brake and a gas brake and a gas brake, a gas pedal and a brake pedal. And if you put more time on the brake than you do the gas, the car is eventually going to slow down. This will send a signal to the brain which says that I am safe. The brain will stop being so hypervigilant. It will stop focusing on things that it needs to focus on and it will start to relax. And that's how you can relax and get some better sleep. Now, if that doesn't work, it's because you've got more going on in your mind than you need to. And there is a way of learning to relax, which involves mental programming in the form of hypnotherapy, which is what I deal with. And week one, when I work with a professional, is we always focus on fixing the sleep. So we can give them suggestions, meaning that when they go to sleep at night, the mind is already prepared to let the face hit the pillow and immediately relax, and then they can get better sleep. So we've addressed sleep problems quite quickly with mental programming. But right now, you can do this evening. When you get into bed, remember this. You can't go to sleep, you can't get sleep. What you can do is relax and sleep will arrive. If your mind is going 1,000 miles an hour and it's in a hypervigilant mode, all you need to do is focus on the breath. Breathe in for 7 seconds, breathe out for 11 seconds. I've explained the scientific process behind that and why it works. As a high performer, you probably want to know the ins and outs and everything. I could talk more on that subject, but it doesn't matter. Breathe in for 7, breathe out for 11. Focus on the breath. Allow the mind to quiet. And as it does that, you will drift off and sleep will arrive. I really hope that that's been beneficial. If you've got any questions about sleep, then feel free to reach out to me. But that's the best of my knowledge in this, you know, 9 minute, 14 minutes I've been talking. Yeah, it's a little bit long winded, but you need to understand what's at stake here. Your short term and long term health are at risk if you're not getting adequate sleep. It's extremely important. One last point about alcohol. Alcohol interrupts your sleep patterns. You end up getting less REM and you end up getting less deep sleep. You might get 8 hours of sleep, but if you're not getting the restorative cycles of sleep, then you're not getting what you need from the sleep. So bear that in mind. The nightcap will help you drift off, but you're not getting the sleep that you need. You're getting the illusion of sleep. So hopefully that's of use to you, and feel free to reach out to me if you want to talk about anything else.